Welcome. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of Macquarie University land, the Warramargal clan of the Darug Nation, whose cultures and customs have nurtured this land since the Dreamtime. We pay our respects to elders past, present and future. We welcome people of all nations and all faiths. Kwai Bidja, Jamna Payala Janawi. Come here, we speak together. We have 60,000 years of archaeological evidence of Aboriginal habitation at Lake Mungo and 20,000 years in Ryde. We have great antiquity. Today, hundreds of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people graduate from Macquarie University. The Darug Nation had famous leaders such as Chief Yarramundi, Naraginji, Colby and Maria Locke. Many of the descendants of these Darug people live today amongst you. We celebrate with you our ongoing attachment and custodianship of this country. We celebrate the achievements of Macquarie University.
Alrighty, well, friends, hello, distinguished guests, friends, family, parents, everybody here for a free lunch, and everybody in between, and most importantly, okay, let's get it our way. Hands up if you are here, in part, for the free lunch. Once a student, always a student. Alrighty. Friends, it's a very wonderful day. Welcome indeed to Reunion Day. It is our first Reunion Day here for Macquarie. Let's all, you're a part of something special. There we are. My name is Alistair Booth. I'm a graduate of 2018 and it's a privilege and a pleasure to be your MC for today. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're gathered here, but also we are live streaming. So any of the lands that indeed we are streaming to, acknowledge those lands as well and pay my respects to their elders past and present. So friends, this year is a remarkable one. Macquarie University is celebrating its 60th birthday. Anyone else celebrating their 60th birthday this year? Lot less hands going up that time. All right, thank you, sir, for being honest. Now, being a part of today's event is indeed very special for me because it was actually in this more or less exact spot 10 years ago that, does anybody remember the old atrium, the old hub that used to be here? Same person raised their hand, good on you, mate. Dad, I'll see you after. No, I'm kidding. It was the old C10A campus hub, and we were celebrating Macquarie's 50th anniversary of the university at that time. So 10 years later, to be here in this new, amazing Michael Egan Hall as an alum to celebrate 60 years is pretty special for me too. Now, I read a very interesting BuzzFeed article actually this morning, and some other international icons, apart from this gentleman, who are turning 60 this year, include Nicolas Cage, Brad Pitt, Rob Lowe, Russell Crowe, Courtney Cox and Terry Hatcher. Wow, okay. And now friends, just like this esteemed list, Macquarie's recent facelift also means that Macquarie is looking as good as ever. Wow, tough crowd. Okay, cool. That was my one and only zinger, and everyone's like, cool, yeah, sick. All right, let's go to the serious stuff. Reunion Day, as I said, it is a first for the university. And it's also a special one because it indeed is sharing the day with Open Day, which I'm sure you saw above all the activity. Today, friends, we are welcoming to the university the students of tomorrow, the students of today, as well as the students of yesterday, who will all be forever connected through a shared affiliation to this wonderful place. Now for me, whether it was upstairs in the old U bar of C10A or to a downtown bar in North America, I like to drink, and everywhere in between, Macquarie continues to provide a wonderful connection, new opportunities and experiences, and most importantly, an ongoing education. Now this education might not be one centred on lectures and textbooks, but it's one that enriches personal growth, skill development, unique relationships, and the knowledge of how I can leave a legacy that creates an even better world for the generation of tomorrow. Friends, I'm sure you would all agree that is truly the essence of you to the power of us. Now today we are celebrating, as I said, 6 decades of excellence, growth and transformation, but also 6 decades of friendship, laughter, personal achievement and lifelong memories. And I do hope you all enjoy a fabulous trip down memory lane when you check out the university this afternoon. Now, speaking of things that are fabulous, I do have a little surprise. Who likes surprises? Oh, you're a woo crowd. Love it. Excellent. Now, could you all please take out your phones? It's going to be great. Come on, I know you want to. Okay. Oh, it's getting exciting. Go to settings and turn it on silent. Now, I did promise a surprise. The surprise will be the person whose phone goes off, because we know they don't know how to follow simple instructions. That's the surprise. Okay, so let's make sure it's not you. That was a new one. I might use that one in future. That worked. All right, now, speaking of unpleasant surprises, if you do need to use the bathroom, don't worry. No need to raise your hand. We're all adults. Just please excuse yourself and take a hall pass to the bathrooms out the back. And of course, friends, in the event of an emergency, do stay calm. Allow me to leave and then fend for yourselves. All right. It's going to be a long day for all of you. Great day for me. All right, it is now my privilege and pleasure to hand over to someone far more sophisticated than I, and that is our friends, Macquarie University's Vice-Chancellor and President, Professor S. Bruce Dowton.
Well, Alistair, thank you very much for the warm welcome. A graduate of Macquarie University Law School. We don't have a comedy school, so from the law school we have a graduate being the MC today. Alistair, thank you for your help today. It's terrific to see you all here today in the Michael Egan Hall, a hall where we have named this hall in honour of the Emeritus Chancellor, the Honourable Michael Egan, the longest-serving State Treasurer of New South Wales, and indeed the longest-serving Chancellor of this university. Unfortunately, Mr. Egan passed away earlier this year, but it's wonderful for us to pause and honour his memory as a great Chancellor of this university, and particularly for those of you who graduated on his watch. He prided himself on really attending to the importance of graduation ceremonies, so it's great to have you all in the Michael Egan Hall here today. We're also very pleased to have Mr. Egan's long-standing partner, Mr. Byron Addison, here today. Welcome to you, Byron. Thank you for being here. And we have also our Emeritus Chancellor before Mr. Egan, the Honourable Michael Kirby as well, a wonderful friend to the university and a Chancellor many years ago, and his partner, Mr. Johan van Vloten. So welcome to you as well. Thank you for being here, along with other esteemed guests of the university today and alumni. It's terrific to see you all here today, and we have folks with us today from across this city, across this state, this nation, and indeed around the world. We have visitors back with us today from Cameroon, from Indonesia, from the United Kingdom, from Singapore, from China, from Fiji, from India, Indonesia, the Philippines, and New Zealand and Thailand, and probably others as well. This is emblematic of what Macquarie University has become since the founding of this university, with very humble beginnings 60 years ago, when the Act of Parliament in New South Wales created the first university north of the harbour, which was part of the imperative back then. And as I say, from those humble beginnings on reclaimed land, you now have a chance today to wander around and see what your university has become. A cosmopolitan centre of what I would refer to as a micro-community of the globe. Unlike most other Australian universities, we today have an incredibly diversified student population. We have students from all across Australia, but we also have students from all around the world. We have deliberately, at the start of my watch almost 12 years ago, diversified our recruitment of students to your university to now have students from 119 countries studying at this university in this semester, which is wonderful. And part of the reason we do that is that we believe that back in your day, Macquarie University, as it is today, was emblematic of innovation and playing a role in being a good citizen. And today that means being a good citizen of not just this city, this state, this nation, but in my view, also of the world. And so we are very keen to have a rich diversity of countries of origin so that our students of today can study play and work with colleagues from many different cultures and many different contexts around the world. Your university today has over 40,000 students enrolled, as I say, from 119 countries. You represent the 235,000 plus alumni of the globe, of the university, who are from now 155 countries this university has graduates from. Macquarie University's story over time has been one of innovation, of transformation and of accomplishment in so many fields. I don't have time today to go through all of the accomplishments of the university, but I urge you today while you are with us on campus to wander around and look at and touch and feel the results of that accomplishment over time. Fundamentally, as it was back when you were all students, the university today, I believe, is a community of individuals. In some ways, solitary souls who come together as a community to further themselves, further their families, further their communities, and in doing so, make a contribution to the world. And that's the way we certainly portray ourselves in the educational mission we have at this university. The discovery mission of the university is also very alive as well, and you will see emblems of that throughout the buildings of the university as you wander around, as I hope you will do today. If you have a chance, for argument's sake, in the arts precinct, one of the original buildings completely redone, a beautiful small museum, the Macquarie Museum of History, which portrays ancient history, where we have very, very strong and deep traditions in archaeology and ancient history, along with Australian history as well. A fabulous research collection as a museum, presented to the public with porous boundaries where the community use that museum quite regularly. The Macquarie Business School, with an illustrious history across many dimensions, particularly including being the founding university in the world of programs in actuarial studies. Very strong programs in both education and research across the Macquarie Business School. The Faculty of Science, now the Faculty of Science and Engineering, also with a rich tradition both in education but also in research and discovery. If you wander along Wally's Walk, you will see the latest of our new buildings going up, which is to be the home of the Macquarie University School of Engineering, which also has with that facilities being purpose designed for the Australian Astronomical Optics Group, a group which we moved to this university from a government agency just a few years ago. And that is an outfit which does precision engineering, design and manufacturing for optical instrument parts for the major optical telescopes all over the world. The Faculty of Medicine, Health and Human Science, located in a precinct down the other end of Wally's Walk, is the home of the only hospital and clinical healthcare system owned and operated by a university in Australia. Again, forging with transformation and innovation as no other university has done. On the research front there, many areas of distinction, particularly in cancer research and in neurobiology, with bedside to bench, laboratory bench, and back to bedside again, research around particularly motor neuron disease. We take care of about 10% of Australians afflicted by that devastating condition at our hospital and clinic here. So widely across the university, a story of uniqueness, of distinction and accomplishment. I remember back to looking in the documentation of the founding of the university, some stories told by students at the very start of the university. And there was a young lady who, on being dropped off to the university, Juliet Harper, who was quizzed by the cab driver about why was she going to this new university? Why was she coming to Macquarie University, which at that stage was a couple of lonely buildings in reclaimed market gardens, which the state government had purchased back from little over 200 largely Italian market gardeners, providing the breadbasket of vegetables for the city of Sydney. And Juliet Harper remarked back to that cab driver when she was being quizzed about the sheer possibility of what might be, the sheer possibility of what might be to go to a new institution, one that was going to be innovative, that had a different design, that was forging out to strike on new directions from where the traditional universities had been in Australia. And I can't walk out, and I have had the great privilege to lead this university now for 12 years, and I can't walk out any one of the days that I've been here and meet a student on campus and talk to them. It's actually how I get my best intel. It drives my executive colleagues crazy. If I've been out one day to buy lunch up above here and look for a student who feels interesting or lonely or sad or bored and by themselves, and I sit down and strike up a conversation, and I learn the most interesting things. Sometimes that means I go back and I pick up the telephone and I call one of my executive colleagues and say, I was out walking on campus today, and they go like this, what did he hear today? And I will inquire why something hasn't been done, or can't this be better, or can't it be fixed, or whatever. But when I go out and do that, and I do it regularly, I come up with the most wonderful stories. I was walking along Wally's Walk one day, and I saw a lady coming towards me who was wearing an interesting black habit, one that I didn't immediately recognise because she was wearing an interesting headpiece. And she came up and chatted with me, and she asked me sheepishly, was I the Vice-Chancellor? And I tagged her along a bit, and I won't tell the story of tagging her along because it involved my unique, what our marketing folks call personal brand. There's only one person who fits the description of tall and big and bald and wears bow ties and large round glasses on this campus, and yes, he does happen to be the Vice-Chancellor. After I'd done that, I said to this young lady, I said, tell me your story. And she said, well, I am a Coptic nun from the Holy See of Alexandria in Egypt. And I am the first Coptic nun in the history of the Holy See of Alexandria to ever get a PhD. And I am doing it at this university. It's like the young man that I saw over towards the health precinct one day when I was walking along, and he came up and said, hello, Professor Dowton. I didn't have a clue who he was. Hello, Professor Dowton. I said, hi, how are you? And he said, I'm so-and-so. I just want to thank you. I said, oh, wow. And he said, you saved my life. I didn't know what he was talking about. He said, no, you saved my life. And I said, tell me your story. And he said, I was a high school student on the northern beaches of Sydney, and I suffered a minor traumatic brain injury playing football as a high school student. And I didn't finish my high school certificate. This university took me into your university without that and gave me a chance that no other university would give me in this city. And I want to thank you for saving my life. That young man now has a rapidly accelerating career at Macquarie Bank with a double degree from this university. These are the stories of this university, students of today. These are your stories. Your story is the story of this university. And I thank you all, each and every one of you, for being part of the incredible Macquarie University family. Your stories touch the lives of your families, your communities, and in doing so, you, each and every one, change the world. That is what this university was about when you were all students here. We strive very hard to stay true to that ideal today. Thank you all for being part of the Macquarie family, and thank you for joining us today to celebrate 60 wonderful years. Thank you again.
Wonder who you're going to call and say, why do we get that guy to MC again? But, you know, fair enough. Oh, God, you really are a hard carder. All right, Thank you very much, Vice-Chancellor. They like you more than me. That's cool, whatevs. Friends, we will now move to the next part of our presentation, but I do quickly want to share, for those that weren't informed of the free lunch, despite 75% of the room, please do stick around with us afterwards to share your stories. That is the one amazing part of today. As we said, we've got so many students from tomorrow, today and yesterday, so as I said, please do stick around, whether it's up there or down here, to indeed share your stories with each other and with us. So friends, what we are going to do now is we are very fortunate to have 4 special guests with us to get into the topic of future of careers and education. Now, of course, we could go on about this for days and days and days and days. We are going to try and cram it into about 20 minutes, but nevertheless, we are in very good hands with our panel. We have Nicole Gower, who is our very own Vice President of Professional Services. We have Rawdon Wilkinson, who is the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic. We have Sylvestre Mang, Macquarie International Alumnus, Sustainability Advocate and Global Ambassador for the University. And we have Amanda Rose, Macquarie Alumnus, Media Commentator, Advocate for Women in Business, Keynote Speaker and Entrepreneur. So friends, please welcome our panellists and hand over to Nicole.
Thank you. Well, guests, good morning. As we reflect back on Macquarie at 60, you'll spend plenty of time today looking back and reflecting back on the past 60 years. This is a session where we will start to look forward and think about the future of careers and education. So Rawdon, I'm going to start with you as Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic. You could say that you're the education architect for the university. Where do you see the future of education?
Thank you, Nicole. Welcome, everybody. That's quite the question, the future of education. Actually, I think if we look around this room, we can see the future of education anyway. The very thing that you all have in common is that the education you received here transformed your life. The stories that you all have, the stories that the Vice-Chancellor spoke about, come together to create an extraordinary energy in this room. Our role is to make sure that we continue to transform lives moving forward. Now, I think one of the things that the pandemic taught us was that technology is incredibly helpful. But I think one of the lessons of the pandemic also is that place matters. And we know that when we walk around our own campus, that place is incredibly special. It creates and brings together a community. So the future of education has to grapple with those two things. How we use technology, how we actually move beyond input mechanisms like the keyboard to really engage with technology. But it also has to take with it that deep connection we all have with each other, the place, and for us, Macquarie University. I would also say there is, of course, as we continue to democratise higher education and bring ever more people into that transformative envelope, we cannot forget those that are left behind. Despite my accent, I actually grew up for a little while in far northwest Queensland. My father was a flying doctor, and I went to school at a place called Sunset School. It's one of the lowest socioeconomic schools in Australia. It has a student population which is 80% Indigenous, and I had the very good fortune to go up there recently, and I spoke with the principal up there. And he shared with me that before the pandemic, in this primary school, he had an attendance rate among the Indigenous children of 84%, outstanding in the state of Queensland. After the pandemic, that had fallen to 74%. And it was extraordinarily difficult for him to think about ways to energise that spirit of learning and commitment and community that education brings, and to help those young children have their lives transformed. So as we think about how we deliver education ever faster, allowing people to switch careers over time, to use technology, to instill habits of lifelong learning, I do think it's on all of us to think about those who are increasingly being left behind, where we, collectively and as a university, play an extraordinary role and have a great responsibility.
Thank you, Rawdon. And I'm pleased you've picked up this issue around equity and availability, so we'll come back to that. But before we do, you also mentioned that connection between education as really a pathway to careers and to futures. And Amanda, I'm keen for your perspectives on this. You're a prominent businesswoman, entrepreneur, media personality, so interested in your thoughts of careers of the future.
Look, I think, and I'm going to blame social media, right? I mean, we need it, I love it, I utilise it, but I think the value of education has dropped in a lot of minds of a lot of people. I think they see it as boring, don't need it, why am I going? I deal with high school students all the time, I run programs for youth all the time, and it's like either it's not for me because of generational connections. I'm the first to go to university, both sides of my family. And, you know, it was just something I wanted to do. And thank goodness I had a mum that facilitated that. So I try to be that mum to the youth of Western Sydney in particular. But we need to firstly get into the minds of parents and children to say education is opportunity, right? Yes, we need technology is the future, but you need an education and you bring technology with you. So it could be a technical skill, whatever it is, and technology is a part of that. But the discipline that you get with education, the connections that you make, the confidence that achieving something like a degree, even a diploma, whatever it is so powerful, and we need the next generation to get back on track with that, because my generation, it was a big deal to some degree to have some form of education, but now I want to skip that and go straight to making money or be an influencer, or it's not for me. And so I think that's important, but the future of careers essentially can be anything you want to be. And it's exciting. I think we have, you know, I run a program for youth in particular, I always want them to feel like they can be anything that they want, but then being realistic about the pathway to get there. And I don't think a lot of people communicate clearly enough, whether because they just don't or they don't know of that pathway, and then they need the support to be able to get there. But these days it's like, well, whatever you want to be, and this is how you do it. A lot of them don't understand that education is a key component to that. And it has helped me throughout my entire career. I'm on my 4th qualification right now. My father made me promise not to become a professional student when I was younger, so I thought, hey, I'll just build 2 companies to prove him wrong, that I can study and be successful, and he's like, okay. But now I want to go back, and I do, to, in particular, disadvantaged areas that have been told by their families, don't bother. Don't bother getting a degree, don't bother doing that. And I'm saying, actually can. If I can, from a working class family, first person to get a degree on both sides, and look what I've achieved, then anyone can.
Thank you. And there's something here about both relevance but also visibility of what university can bring and the opportunities here in Australia, all around the world. So Sylvestre, perhaps I come to you. You were here at Macquarie as an international student. Yeah. It's great to see you back on campus here today. Could you share with us, how has an international education served you in life? And, you know, there's a lot of discussion in the media about international education. What do you see as the future for international education?
Well, first of all, thank you, Nicole, and hi to everybody. To answer to your question is that the main thing is that we would like to have the better option for us, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And being an international student gave me the exposure and the opportunity to see how the standards are in my field of work. I personally work in the field of investment finance, and my aim as a Cameroonian, I wanted to work in the field of financing infrastructure, roads, for example, solar plants, and so on. So Macquarie University gave me that opportunity through the Master of Commerce program, where we had some of modules, for example, the one with investing in emerging markets, that gave me the experience that I can apply directly after this degree. So it gave me a better option to enter in the investment banking industry. And finally that's happened, because after my degree I was recruited at the Crédit Agricole Corporate Investment Banking. I started my career in aviation sector financing, and afterward I get it into the project finance. So definitely, it's for me a great experience, and I'm sure that if I just choose the at that time one degree, a local one, it would have been possible to achieve that.
Thank you. So Amanda, I'm going to come back to you on this topic of equity access. I know this is something that you're particularly passionate about. So, I mean, your advice, if you were advising people like Rawdon and myself on this topic, how do we ensure that tertiary education remains available to all members of society?
They need to see it as an option. And I'd say financial barriers is probably a big part of that. So showing people it is doable, right? It is an option for you, which means you have to be present, which means you have to be there. So if you're going to a community that doesn't have a university there or doesn't have someone representing universities there, then they're like, I didn't think this was for me, you know. So when I speak to a group of students and I talk about my journey, they'll come up afterwards and say, do you reckon I could go to uni? And I go, why not? I said, who said you can't? I said, you can do whatever you want. Are you willing to put in the work? Do you want to do it? Then do it. But having those conversations are important, but they need to be seen. So I think we need, because university is always seen, like even my family is like, oh, uni. You know, I come from a working class family. I was, you know, to be an air hostess, and which is nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to go to uni. It was my drive. I've always wanted to do it. And I'm like, but where do I go? So my mum took me to this open day and I see mums now doing it and it's just wonderful. But, you know, we need people to do that. Take them out of their environment, experience what it's like. This can be for you. So I think we need to do more of that. We need to get into where they are in a comfortable manner as well, because it can be overwhelming for a lot of people to see university and think, oh, it's not for me. So we need more stories of people that have said, well, actually, it was for me, why isn't it for you? I think that's important, be seen.
And I hear too, there's a big role for parents. So if we have parents in the audience here, we were talking about this beforehand. We've got, as you walk around the campus today, you'll see lots of beautiful families here, potential students here exploring the campus. And I spoke to a mum this morning who had her son, you know, a few sort of metres away. And she said, oh, I'm just here, you know, just to kind of make sure. And she said, oh, do you think it's okay as a parent that I'm here? And I said, absolutely. You know, there's a role for all of us to play in terms of providing that visibility and that relevance for what are the pathways. So if you're here with your kids, you're very welcome. We love having parents here too. So Rawdon, I'm going to come back to you, and I know this is a question that a lot of us are thinking about. In such a rapidly changing world, how do universities remain relevant? And I'm going to give you an extension of this question and say, you know, a lot of us hear about things like AI, you know, automation, great advancements in technology. How are you thinking about that as we think about educating the generation of the future and remaining relevant as a university?
Thanks, Nicole. I actually think there's a lot in what Amanda and Sylvestre said that we can really draw on. We are all part of a global conversation. And that global conversation at the moment is one which is really denigrating the value of higher education. We see a challenge to the value of universities everywhere, yet the evidence is clear. You have better employment prospects, better earning potential, and better health outcomes if you've been to university and you get a degree. Flat. In the field of development economics, which I applied much of my trade in, what we know is that there's a direct relationship between educational attainment level and the value created in a society. One of the ways the United Nations still measures development potential is by the number of PhDs that exist in a society. So I do think we all have to accept our responsibility as participants in that conversation and really dig out for everyone to see that higher education dividend that we have all benefited from. So the future of education really must be about making sure that that is front and centre. And in that, universities will thrive. However, we really do have to be better at making sure we show the value of what it is that we do to societies. That's absolutely clear. At Macquarie and at all of Australia's universities, we are engaged in frontier knowledge creation that dramatically affects lives for the good. We have to tell those stories. We have to show the value for it. You know as well as I do that we are constantly held up as places that are expensive. But it's very true that running a university requires a lot of financing. Research is not cheap. So that we can continue to democratize higher education and enable more people to have their lives transformed, we have to fund them properly. So I would ask you all, please, to engage in that conversation, to help everybody understand the benefit of the higher education dividend. Hopefully, to see that exponential element that exists on top of that, the Macquarie advantage that you've all benefited from, and to celebrate universities in that regard and help us all grow and benefit as societies.
Thanks, Jordan. And you've picked up this topic of there are a lot of choices for students and different options in the field of education. I'm interested, and Sylvestre, I'm going to come to you, but Amanda, I want to ask you this question as well. What makes Macquarie special? You're part of our community, you've been here. As you've thought about options for where to study, you know, what's special about Macquarie?
Well, for me, it would be first the dynamic. From my first experience back in 2007, when I had to choose between which school I have to go to attend, Macquarie for me showed me this dynamic of being first an open university, and also in the component of what I will learn that will be close to the market and fill my needs. So for me, yes, that's the most important.
Thank you. Amanda, you're...
Look, I love Macquarie. So I was showing my age, but I was the first cohort for the Bachelor of Business when it started, because I kept saying to my mum, I was going to do law, had a severe car accident in year 12, which is, and Macquarie still took me, and decided to go business, and no one else did it. Everyone was doing commerce, right? And so I really loved that it was practical, and I was a business-minded person. And that's the reason why I went for it, right? And I thought, I want that. Then when I turned up, it was such an experience. The atmosphere, the teachers, the people, everything about it. And I can say this because I've also gone to UTS in Sydney and I worked at UNSW, so I can compare them. And it's just wonderful. There's a feeling of encouragement, support. You were never left alone. You could reach out to anyone. I remember when I had troubles in my education, I would turn up to, you know, the lecturers and explain my situation, and they'd actually help. Do this, do that, this is what needs to happen. I'd say thank you. I always felt that I could do that. And I was part of a community that was ongoing, and you could disappear and come back and they were still there for you. And I loved it, especially from my perspective, that unis were overwhelming for me at the time because no one in my family had been to university. And, you know, visiting them all, they all felt quite cold, but Macquarie felt warm.
So warm that you still wear Macquarie colours, and we love that, even down
I'm
to
a
your
massive
shoes.
advocate. You know, when someone, I'll have to say this, someone came up to me the other day and they said, look, my daughter's been accepted into universities. This was one of the universities. She said, which one should she take, obviously? I said, Macquarie, are you mad? So I am a massive advocate.
We'll put you on the payroll, Amanda. Now, in a moment, I'm actually going to offer to the audience an opportunity to ask questions of our panellists. I've got a couple more, so start to think through if there are things that you'd like to hear from our panellists. I'll come to you in just a moment. But before I do, Sylvestre, I'm keen to come back to you because you've travelled around the world. You've had a very distinguished career. How do you think about continuing to excel in a professional career and working in different countries? Can you speak a little around how the education here at Macquarie has prepared you for that?
Well, what I may say is the first thing is to keep eyes on standards. And I know that here at Macquarie, there is an involvement to update what we learn here. So I keep my eyes on standards, and I came back to take the global MBA that I took until last year. I graduated last year from the GMBA. So it updates me in terms of what are market practice in my sector. The other things is I may recommend to be part of a network. Macquarie Alumni is a big family for me, and through the activity that we have here. I was the leader of the French chapter, so this enabled me to keep contact and try to find business opportunities. By the way, with other people. So for me, if I can sum up, is to keep the eye on the standard where the trends are going first, because that is really important. We talk about the technology disruption with AI and so on, and yes, get involved in network with alumni community.
And I'm keen to stay on this topic because we have a room full of alumni today, and the two of you have been very active members of our alumni community, and really involved in giving back around, you know, the experience of our students, how you can contribute to their learnings. I mean, we've talked about advice for Rawdon and myself. What advice would you give to members of our alumni about staying involved either through one of our chapters or contributing to the ongoing learning and education of our students?
You first.
Yeah.
Look,
Please.
I think we underestimate what's right in front of us. You have an established community, you've got a connection with people around you. And when you have a connection of some kind, especially education, because education has opened all the doors for our careers, and people are on that journey, it's perpetual, you keep going. And I said, if you stay in contact with alumni, there's opportunities. It's kind of like having your own little crew, you know. What are you doing? What are you doing? But you have this warmth that it's already there. We're not utilising that enough, right? And also, we're not passing it on. I think it's important that we take time to let the next generation know our experiences, especially when they've been so positive, because they're trying to make choices. And you don't want them going to the best ad that they see. You want them to have first-hand experience of, this is my journey, this is what I went through, you know, and I recommend for you. But also just in general, connecting with each other. It's an established network right there in front of you.
Thank you. Sylvestre.
Well, I may add the importance of having mentorship programs, because that's create the interactivities between, you know, learners and practitioners, someone who got enough experience, and give a hint on which option you can take in the future, and develop, of course, relationships in the community of Macquarie University. So I may encourage to develop mentorship programs. I know we have few of those, but it might be interesting to have more.
Yeah, and we hear so much from people engaged in mentoring. Not only does the person being mentored really value the experience, but as does the mentor. It's one of those, it's a real two-way flow in terms of that value. So to members of the audience, we have some roving microphones. Now is your opportunity to ask questions of our panellists. So if you could please raise your hand, yes, and then we'll pose questions to the panel.
Good afternoon. Would you be able to talk to us about how the university is looking to leverage artificial intelligence for educational outcomes?
Rawdon, perhaps this one's for you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Great question. I realised that when you asked, Nicole, I also didn't address artificial intelligence in the way that I was intending to. So artificial intelligence generally is a phenomenon, and then technological change, if I may, because I think those two things are really, really important. So we make no bones. We're very generously and gregariously engaged in the pursuit of understanding and the use of artificial intelligence. We need to do that. But we also understand that, like all new technologies, it has challenges that come with it. So it means that we have to work out as a global community, but also as a university, how we navigate those challenges and create a usage of artificial intelligence that really is important for society to be comfortable with. So our philosophers are as engaged in the realm of artificial intelligence as those who work in our Faculty of Science and Engineering, or in Medicine, Health and Human Sciences, or in our business school. So we are very engaged with AI. I would say that this is where universities also have another responsibility. Understanding the anxiety that comes along with technological change is something that universities are very well placed to do, and also to assuage anxiety. That's part of a conversation that we also need to be engaged with. We know through time, as every technology has transitioned from one to another, whether it's from the weaving loom to early stages of mass mechanization, there has been social anxiety about change. We need to make that change work well for all of us, and to provide the opportunities for everybody to benefit from that change. And that's what I think universities have got an extraordinary opportunity to do. So I would say we're engaged with AI as a phenomenon within the university to help us teach and research, but also with social anxieties about AI as well as the possibilities of artificial intelligence. It's a fantastic topic. Thank you.
And Amanda, Sylvestre, just very briefly, AI, net positive or something for universities to be worried about?
You can't escape it, right? And like with any technology over the years, I've seen it come in and develop and so forth. I believe in making the most of what you have, of anything new, jump on board, understand it, leverage it, but don't discard everything else in pursuit of that. And I think that's where people fall over, when they're focused just on the technology instead of everything that you need around it. So it's bringing it into the fold and testing and making sure it's working for you instead of taking over.
Terrific. Anything to add from you, Sylvestre?
Well, nothing else. It's not whether it's bad or good. The thing is that we need to adapt.
Yes.
There is, the wave of changing technologies. The thing is that how do you appropriate the AI? And if I have to adapt it to my sector, I believe it will help. We need to adapt in the field of business decision making, because now we have this AI that will show you many solutions, but you have to do an arbitrage between which option is the best for the company or for the project that you're managing. So being equipped of understanding how does it work and which impact it will have to your business, that's the most important.
Thank you. Back to the audience. Yes.
Yeah. Another thing that's changed a lot since I came here is the cost of HECS. I think on average it's doubled in the last 15 years. We also live in a very high cost of living place, particularly the North Shore of Sydney. Do you have many students who both work full-time and study full-time in order to make ends meet?
Yes, perhaps that's for you, Rawdon.
Yeah, thank you. It's a terrific question. What we see at Macquarie and also across the sector is more and more of our students working. Actually, students are registering increasingly in a part-time study mode rather than a full-time study mode to make ends meet. We do know also across the sector that there are cost of living pressures that are really affecting our students. Now, we do all that we can to assuage those. We have got support services in place to help our students, but it is a modern phenomenon. And we will see that increasingly, actually. As universities are able to reach out and include more and more of our communities and populations, we are likely to see an increasingly part-time student cohort that have got economic necessities that mean that they need to work. And that's one of the big challenges of the future of education, actually. How do we deliver the absolute quality that we have in a way that can be consumed by learners who are increasingly part-time, who increasingly want to consume that education in different ways, through different media, not necessarily always in this place, though I think this place is incredibly important. And that's something that is very much everyday bill of fare of conversations that we have within the university. Thank you.
And just to add, we also employ a lot of our own students, actually. So as you wander around today, if you see students wearing red shirts or sort of staff involved in running the event, often they're students of the university as well. Okay, next question. Down the front here. Oh, okay.
Right.
So maybe one and then we'll come to the front here, sorry.
Yes, hello. Yes, my name's Brian Walters. I'm a Master of Economics and Accounting and Finance. I was here 30 years ago. It really only seems like yesterday. But I have a bit of a dilemma. I am an absolute believer in the transformative ability of education, which that term has been mentioned generally already this afternoon. But as I say, my dilemma is not everybody needs it, in my humble opinion, not everybody needs a degree, and for better or worse, not everybody can actually get their own act together and actually get a degree. So I guess I'd sort of direct my question to Amanda, who I can certainly sympathise with what Amanda said, you know, first one in a family and all that, working class family, all of the above. So how do we sort of solve that dilemma? Yes, we need an education, but we don't necessarily have to have a degree.
I agree 100% with that. I think there are a lot of people, and it really comes down to like the career advisors and educating them in the high schools as well. So my brother was definitely not going to head to uni. He ended up being a tradie, ended up a builder. It was fantastic and it worked well for him. So I think identifying what suits that person. It was more the fact that there are people out there that have a desire to but never have the opportunity to. So I think it's being very clear of the options and not demonising one option over the other. Like if you don't go to uni, you're not this, or if you don't go to TAFE, you're not this. It's kind of like these are all your options to do that. But also micro-credentials. So I think there's for people that, for example, have a trade, but they want to get some management experience, or they want to kind of, they're running a business now, or they're doing something and they might want to go and do some advisory on a construction company. What do I get for that? So I think the fact that universities are breaking down to having those smaller micro-credentials for people to be able to obtain, you know, as professional development and things like that are very powerful, because it means that someone who doesn't need university now might need it in 10 years' time to give them that soft skill or that technical skill that they didn't have. But it's more the fact of making sure everyone knows what's available to them and then supporting them with whatever choice they make.
And maybe if I just follow up, Broaden, so does the university collaborate with vocational training, TAFE? You know, do we think about that sort of tertiary education across higher ed and other forms?
We certainly do. So we have a fantastic tie-up with TAFE in Meadowbank, which is also partnering with UTS and with Microsoft. And this has been an extraordinary opportunity for us to think about how we deliver education differently in a very cutting-edge area, reaching out to many learners who wouldn't otherwise have experienced a university education. I completely agree with what Amanda said. Wonderful.
We have time for one last question, I think up the front here, yes.
First of all, I should say congratulations. Okay. My question is that, is there any online PhD course for overseas students?
Yes. Is there an advantage for overseas students? Maybe Sylvestre, would you like to take that? And then I did promise the lady who had her hand up, we'll come back to you for a last question. Sylvestre.
Can you maybe rephrase again?
What's the advantage for international students? If you could share a couple of key advantages.
Wow. Many advantages. For me is first of all to have two experiences. If I take my personal story, I grew up in Cameroon. I had the opportunity to study in France and also coming here in Australia. So it helped me to compare and to enrich myself, because at the end of the day, these things for your career it would be based on your interaction with person, business, in terms of business or personal relationships. So you will learn a lot and how to interact with different cultures. So for me, that's the example of what are the value added to be an international student. I don't know if it answers to your question.
It's a great answer, thank you. And then final question here, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ada. I'm actually based in Shanghai, and this is actually my first time in the campus because I did my master degree of management in 2022, which is during the COVID. That's why I have to do all my courses online. So this is actually great to be here. My question is for those other students like me who have to do that, the only way to do that is the online courses. How can we bring students like us to give us the sense of belonging belongings, because actually today when I'm here, I feel so proud to be part of it, and I love it. And Macquarie is my fourth qualification. I love all my universities, and I wish I can have the same experience to my other students who are doing this online. So thank you.
Well, first of all, welcome to campus. It's great to see you here. And perhaps, Rawdon, would you like to take this sense of belonging, whether it be here or in online study, your thoughts on that, please?
So it's delightful to have you here. Welcome. I think you're expressing already what we see among many of our students who actually haven't been to campus. There are many students, for instance, in Hong Kong. We have a wonderful alumni chapter in Hong Kong who are so excited about their relationship with Macquarie, but actually they did most of their studies in Hong Kong. I would advise all of you to get involved with your local alumni associations, wherever you are, because it's through that living, breathing character of Macquarie really thrives. And as we grow from 233,000 alumni to 23 million alumni over the years ahead, then these associations will be so powerful in taking forward that Macquarie calibre, quality, culture, community. And come back to campus too when you have an opportunity. So it's delightful to have you here.
Well, this is a subject that we could talk about for hours and hours, but I'm conscious that we do have more to our program today. So if you could please join me in thanking our panellists. Alistair, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicole, as well as to all our panellists for, as Nicole said, a topic we could all go on and on about, but I've heard it's lunch and we've got to get to that very quickly. But just before we do, I do now want to hand over to a student who is currently going through her studies, and that is Jade Blunt. She's a regional student from Dubbo and is indeed in her 5th year of a Bachelor of Law and a Bachelor of Psychology here at NQU. So, Jade, there you are. Perfect.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is an absolute honour and privilege to be invited to speak with you all this afternoon and share with you but a glimpse of my story. Over the last few years, I've received a few of these invitations to speak at various events and functions about the impact of scholarships and my experience with same. And each time, I welcome the opportunity without a second thought. I think there's a really simple and fundamental explanation for my eagerness to speak about scholarships and my own experiences as a scholarship recipient. And that is because I have seen firsthand just how truly life-changing scholarships can be. I was born and raised on Wiradjuri land in Dubbo, a humble city about 5.5 hours west from Macquarie. For as long as and probably before I even understood what the law was, it was my dream to be a lawyer and live in Sydney. As I got older and neared the end of my high school experience, this dream seemed like nothing more than an unattainable aspiration. The financial burden of moving to a metropolitan area threatened to confine my educational journey to a path much closer to home. I was lucky enough, however, to receive an accommodation scholarship at Macquarie University that allowed me to live here on campus for 4 years, something that I definitely would not have been able to do if it weren't for my scholarship. Thanks to the scholarship that I received, I've had the opportunity to study my dream course at my dream university and to fully immerse myself into all opportunities that have been presented to me along the way. I'm now very, very grateful to say that I'm 1 semester away from finishing a Bachelor in Law and a Bachelor of Psychology and have been offered a graduate position for 2025 at one of Sydney's oldest and most prestigious law firms. A reality that I never thought would be mine and definitely wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for my scholarship. My scholarship provided me a beacon of hope in a cloud of uncertainty, and I strive now to share that experience as far and as wide as I possibly can so that other students can see that their dreams too can become reality, and so that those that are considering donating to scholarships can see just one example of how truly groundbreaking they can be. If you have ever considered donating to scholarships, know that your kindness and generosity has the power to completely change the path of a young person's life. By investing in scholarships, you are investing in the future leaders of the world and are providing opportunities for students to strive and reach their full potential, and I think that is extraordinary. Thank you all for joining us today, and I will be at the 60 for 60 stand after the formalities, so please come over to say hello. I'd love to chat and talk to as many of you as I possibly can. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Jade. And to learn more about the 60 for 60 campaign, you can, as Jade said, head out to the stand that is behind us at the conclusion very shortly. And the whole purpose, as Jade said, about these scholarships is the students of today and the students of yesterday being able to help those students of tomorrow. And indeed, we very much heard today about how important community is and how important it is to help each other through the journey. So please, indeed, go and check out the 60 for 60 stand. As you said, there's no such thing as a free lunch, unfortunately, so check it out. It was a long game I played there. All right. Friends, that indeed does end our formalities for today. And I think we've heard a lot of things, and what I think Amanda said before during the panel was when she came to Macquarie, the thing that she felt above, beyond anything else, was that it felt warm. And the reason why that resonated with me was because that is the exact phrase I used when I came to my open day back in 1947. Thank you. No, but I am serious. It is a university that puts someone like me on a stage. It's a university that always feels so welcoming and inclusive. And indeed, whether we're here as alumni today, whether we're here as students, or whether we're just coming back for a visit, indeed is a great place to come. And we are so pleased, whether it's your first time or it's your 50th time, it is so wonderful to have you all back on campus. I think Macquarie Lighthouse is something that I really find is a very special symbol for this university. I don't know whether you've ever seen a lighthouse actually happening, but if you look at it, the light comes from a very small thing, but it seems to shine for a complete indefinite way. I think that is an example of what this university is. We all start in one place, the light, together, and then it just goes for miles and miles and miles, and there really is no end. And that is what these relationships are, that's what your education is, and that is indeed the community that you all are going to have connected for life, all under this one lighthouse. So friends, today I very much encourage you to take a stroll around campus, break into places all day. It's what open day is about. Open desk drawers, do what you need to do. But you'll indeed see changes that are indeed very, very exciting on this campus. Of course, though, as I said, please go outside. Welcome to the 60 to 60. We also have representatives from faculties, different alumni groups, etc. We've got some complimentary bathroom facilities if you'd like to use them too. It's all inclusive. And something about a lunch here. Oh yes, there's a lunch. So friends, we do encourage you to stick around. You can smell the barbecue. Come and join us. Once again, welcome back. Thank you all to our panellists, to our speakers, and to all of you. Welcome back to Macquarie University.